Okay, this is the date today. So people are now, when it comes to accountability stuff, they're getting that email address. I don't think I'll have a problem with this stamp and this envelope that is slightly bigger than the norm. It'll have just that one piece of paper in it. I called your 800 number today, but I was unable to reach a service agent. This is concerning my own driver's medical examination. I currently do not have the funds or funding to pay for this medical issued December 30th, a few months ago. I am not driving any unrestricted vehicles at this time, including for work, which would allow me the expense of this medical, catch-22. I wish to maintain my unrestricted class 4. That's why I'm saying that word. Unrestricted class 4 is 25 passengers with the driver, and restricted, which is restriction 17, which I noticed they did put on this form. That information is a maximum of 10. So I wish to maintain this license, and so I am asking for an extension. I'm not even sure how to write extension, and I didn't turn on my computer, but anyways. My driver's license number is, and you can call, okay, I'm missing a word. Okay, so I just got the wrong word I got to fix. I said call instead of can. You can mail your reply to the address here. In your reply, I ask that you include the full medical file from my past and most certainly include all notes from Dr. Pramod Swami, who has now been served with legal BC court claim papers. Sincerely, and I sign. So I'm not going to go to the post office and get a stamp. I'm just gonna put it in a mailbox with everything. And you know what? Maybe I will. I will actually put my return address on here. I'll put Martin and then just the return address. Yeah, today for me, I don't even want to film this because I don't really want to cry, or see, that's a Freudian slip. I don't really want to talk too much or hear too many people speak. So even when I have the music, I think I'm gonna keep it to the easy listening channel. I got some homework to do I have to focus on, but I don't want to hear any voices, and I'm not talking about here, I'm talking about the news or things like that. I usually watch the news every day. But I woke up kind of crying right away, when I got out of bed, and it's because I'm backed up, and I don't want to get dehydrated because I'm playing badminton again, and I'll meet new people, and I want to make a good impression, and I want to focus, and I don't want to be dehydrated and get sick. I'll be wearing a mask today, in the transportation to get there, but it's a new place I'm going. So the reason that I started crying is I'm backed up on tears, but also I had a dream that was frustrating about how, people that most others would consider caring people still discriminate against me, and it just makes me sad. And then I had a dream, and then when I woke up, I tried to reframe that to positives, which is thinking about all the different things that I did or that I acted like when I interacted with others, when I traveled to Uganda and 3 Asian countries. And I easily came up with 12 things that I know would hopefully have a butterfly effect, right? But butterfly effects get canceled by the norm, right? You can't, they don't spread, and then most people start asking like this. HSD makes people more and more act the other way. So that made me cry more, even though I was proud of easily coming up with this list of 12 that was different things that I did in these different countries that included, all 4 of these countries. And that I know people reflecting on this, either children or adults or groups that observe these behaviors, they would know that was a good guy after all, And we thought he didn't know how things work here or whatever, but he was really role modeling human behaviors. And I think why that made me cry more is just I'm not appreciated for this, and also it doesn't make a difference. But still, I can't act differently. So that means I'm in a catch-22 with the norm. I will no longer, and this was years ago, this was decided, and a switch was flipped, that I'm not anymore going to compromise my humanity for the sake of belonging or the monetary paradigm, or anything that really has been part of the causes of repeating cycles in my past, right? Where I excel, then I realize I'm growing more here, and the cultures I'm in, the communities, pull me back down, and it's like, whoa, what the hell? And then suddenly I have a crash, and then there's depression, and then I build myself up, and sometimes I let the depression get really deep that I'm in a fetal position for a long time. But yet I've built myself back from that. But that's not a healthy cycle. I realized some years ago, said, wow, I don't know anybody else who can do that. And I got really good at it, but I'm pretty sure there's other challenges I can give this brain in my life. So those kind of thoughts, but also coming up with my own grand unification theory of human domestication syndromes, which explained everything. And by that is there was a conflict. How could I be a good person and believe in myself that I'm actually not dumber or weird or lazy or whatever the labels people put on me is really, how can I rationalize that there's this conflict where people tell me that there's something wrong with me and I think there's something wrong with them, and my behaviors are actually the evidence that there's great sentience and sapience within me. And this grand unification theory explains their behaviors, which also made me come up with the term species alienation, which means that that's what I suffer from because the norm suffers from these human domestication syndromes. And I've had to come up with various strategies to minimize this suffering from species alienation, because it burns so much energy when I interact with the norm, finding that balance between the extremes of being very angry or very, very sad. And it's not like a depression, because a depression, if I'm in a full-blown depression, like in the past, like they say, oh no, if you're in a depression, you don't even want to do this. And it's true, but sometimes it was the medication that did this. But now I can have extreme sadness and reframe it, and even with that sadness, I can do activities that I enjoy, for example. Like badminton I'm going to do today, even though I'm very sad today. And I'm going to enjoy. And I'm not going to sit it out. I'm going to do a lot. And I know what the positive impacts it has on my brain, even if I had to push myself to do it. But I don't have to push myself to do it, because I'm not depressed. I'm just very sad of the behaviors of the norm. So, I'm saying all this to explain a little bit my grand unification theory, which makes an explanation for everything, in the sense that when the norm act a certain way, one of the ways that I've coped with that is not to take things personally, right? Because there's the concept of biological clones, but nobody's been talking about the concept of, cognitive or mental clones, because HSD creates copies and copies of flawed ways of thinking, and it got so bad even before I was born in my own cultures here in Canada that it was even too late to reverse it, because this became too dysfunctional to fix itself, even before I was born. And when I realized this, what a shock that was, that all the data confirmed all these things in this grand unification theory, and then I could use this to predict how people would act. I could use that to my advantage, but what is my advantage? I'm not pursuing greed. I'm not pursuing power. I'm not dishonest. So how would I use this ability to predict not only what the norm, but even what individuals can do? And how can I predict what individuals can do? And that's easy, because if I know that they'll be interacting with the norm, then even if I profile that individual that in a certain smaller community or a smaller setting or one-on-one, they would act this way, if it's a situation that won't come back to interacting with the norm, then I can predict that, yeah, that's a person that would act this way. But I also predict that if they're at work or if they're at church or something like that, then this is the way they're going to act based on HSD. So this has given me a sense of security, and also the fact that I shouldn't take how they act personally, even though I say, oh man, I predict you will act this way and it's wrong, and here's why, and here's why you even agree that it's wrong, but you'll still act a certain way because the clone zombie thinking is just not something they can overcome at this point, right? They would need a HUMANICS psychotherapist. That's what I'm going to put on my new card, and that's not something that their insurance will pay for or that is acknowledged in a society that is sick, right? So, and then people will say, why? How dare you use the term? Again, I can provide results, and you can document these results. So, plus, do you know of a professional association of HUMANICS psychotherapists? You know why? My theory explains it, because you're the Homo communia, right? You don't want to do your personal development work, your psychohistorical work. You don't want to heal yourselves, right? You want to just survive one day at a time and just say, Martin, if you want to jump the fence, you're a black sheep, we're a white sheep, we're totally okay with you jumping the fence. And if you break the fence and it's totally open, we're not going to follow you. We're still going to stay here. That's pretty much the behaviors of the people primates, the Homo communia. And it's sad. And the sadness comes from I'm a social creature. And I can't just find value in who I am and be proud of who I am by, buying a plant and putting it on my desk and growing a plant. I need social interactions. And even the ones with animals. There's plenty of ways that my own society sanctions me or places obstacles in front of me that being a responsible dog friend, I'm not going to say the word owner, is how I can't do it where I live here. I don't have a vehicle. I don't have a home. Some homeless people have dogs, and they may or may not have had the dogs before they were homeless. But still, sometimes the dog has such a therapeutic effect on them that, plus the dog is a great friend that can cope with being outside. Now, sometimes, and people seem to help both the dog and that person more because they have a dog. So I can't say it's a bad idea. But for me, I'd like to be in a long-term friendship with a dog, let's say, and it's like I'm a great parent and I have no kids, and I have no kids because I'm a great parent. So same thing with a dog. I want to, it's not like I had an accident with a girlfriend and now we have a dog. It's not, I know how to do family planning even if I'm just one individual, and I want to give that dog a good home. And it's the same thing with kids. There's too many kids to help, and there's too many other dogs I can interact with that people could say, oh yeah, you can walk my dog or interact with my dog like it's happened in the past. But it's still a dog or a child that at some point society, without me doing anything wrong, will limit my interactions with. So as a social creature, I suffer in many ways, and it's because of the norm. So here I'm mailing this because it's so sad that this doctor actually, when I was in the community and he knew that his kids that he kept bringing into the world would require a driving school, and that he knew I had a great reputation in the community because he's a doctor. He would hear stuff, and also I taught children of his staff. And he would write letters of reference that would say Martin is capable of doing any type of work. And then suddenly when I close my driving school and move out of town, I don't know what his legal papers said, but suddenly I hear that my driver's license got canceled. So you can tell the fake care and concern and how I was being groomed. And then suddenly, if I'm not available for him, when he thought my life was great, but he's, even though he's a doctor who would make the appointments last longer compared to all others I've seen, I appreciated that about him, is I think when he was letting me talk for a long time, is I realized he's not really listening, right? He's got his egocentric ulterior motives. And this is kind of why I'm taking him to court. Now, it's not just the driver's license. I'm taking him to court because, well, many financial burdens and community disconnections happened because of his choices. And also, the future goals I had when leaving Ladysmith didn't need the extra obstacles of what he did, which affected my ability to generate income as I went on independent research project, personal development work, and just hurting somebody's reputation in this way. Because I mean, after so many years, there must have been some things, especially if he thought I'd never come back, maybe to the island or something. It could be, that my name comes up or my driving school comes up, and then something negative would come out, and then. Because it's hard to explain how I was in that community for so long and I gave so much, and that, very few people stay in contact or are capable of, and think there's something wrong with me and end friendships, although there is nothing I did wrong except for just leaving for my own self-actualization, which is a human right, right? Now, I'm not saying that HSD doesn't account for how a lot of people have been unable to stay in touch with me. People that I've had a good connection with in the past when I lived there. But I mean, a little bit of it is the medical industry, right? The medical industry, it places, there's a funny episode in Seinfeld about this. It places labels on people, and no way will it lift those labels, especially, if it hurts any medical professional's reputation, and they all kind of hang out together in this way. And I've tested this by also talking to others of it, partners of that clinic, and also other people that didn't work at that clinic, but that is part of his community circle of peers. So I can tell that nobody wanted to hear that story. Nobody wanted to fix this. So when it goes to court, then again, it's not just about me. It's cultural repair, right? It involves more and more people, and I'll document this, and hopefully, again, the media will act responsibly, and the judge will act responsibly, and not just make it about me. They'll make it about how this has negative impacts on an entire community, just like I did with my post about the little town of Ladysmith on YouTube, which is all accurate stuff about education, about hypocrisy. It's kind of a beautiful small town. Although I have noticed a de-escalation of, let's say, civic-mindedness when I visited or in the later years that I was there. But it's a beautiful small town, but it's only if you kind of wear rose-colored glasses, if you don't look too deep. Because if you look deep, you'll see a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of things that keep pushing people down. A lot of things where even the youth are kind of more and more now by their parents or their peers are domesticated to stay there or stay close, even though for them it's a personal development evolutionary dead end to be linked to that stagnant community for so long. So it's pretty sad. We have to connect communities more with better public transit. We have to bring attention to parents that they're actually using their kids for human trafficking, right? When they train their kids to think that they're only good for, working as a care aid because, they'll be work in that field or, they'll take care of their parents when they're old. That's human trafficking. And there's a lot of that stuff going on in Ladysmith and other communities. So people are having kids now because they're losing social skills to be able to be in healthy relationships with other adults, like couples or families. So they're training and modifying unconsciously their relationship with their kids to be best friends. So there's no parenting going on. It's like when I was in Africa, and it's 13-year-old or 11-year-old children raising younger children. And sometimes their parents aren't dead. They're in another part of Uganda. Now that has seriously negative impacts on the species, when it comes to what this hardware is capable of. And it might be more extreme in Uganda, but I've definitely seen it in Canada. In Canada, there's people I've known for a really long time, and I can point out examples of how they're doing this. And I haven't done anything bad to them other than reflect reality back at them. And no, you don't understand how much I love my children. Hello? Okay, so how can you apply that love better with the feedback I just gave you? And they just can't go there, right? They're afraid of being alone. they're afraid of being alone because they don't think and it's true, they don't have the relationship skills uh, to be in adult relationships, so they're keeping their kids around too much, and instead of letting their kids get into their own lives, right, and develop their own potential, which might not be anywhere near where their parents live. So this is tough, but that's part of being a responsible parent. Is like how many other species do you see doing this that try to keep their kids around for their entire lifetime? That is some that is some serious lack of sentience and sapience right there, don't you think? It's pretty sad. Anyways, we'll see if these guys actually mail me the information about the doctor, because if he wrote things that are so bad, it would actually get me approved on Canada Revenue Agency's Disability Act, and then a lot of the money that was stolen from me by their third-party contractors might be returned to me in that way. Man, even without gloves, I'm having a hard time stopping this. I'll give it a quick tap. I'll have to trim this just because of the